Hey guys, so we're going to do something a little different today. I'm just going to go through a couple of AI related tabs and then we're going to draw something. I'm going to kind of walk you through my little process that I have for making this type. I put a couple examples right here. It's kind of little monster-y faces, kind of wannabe Giger things that I really enjoy making. Now, it's not the most revolutionary thing. It's not mind-blowing, but there is a little bit of a process I use. And the main thing is that it's just so relaxing. Before we get into it and you start going, what the hell is on the screen right now? Before we talk about this really quickly, because it's kind of hysterical and I wanted to keep it a little light today, and I'm going to go only through about 4 or 5 different tabs, and they range from this kind of thing you see in front of you, which is actually pretty comical and apparently completely real. This person legit thought that they were showing their process, but again, neither here nor there. I had a question for you guys. So I've canceled my Netflix. I've canceled all of my subscription models. The only one I still have is Prime because I paid for it for a year and I can't really cancel it. At least if I did, it wouldn't expire until when the next billing cycle is months and months away. Don't have Netflix anymore. Don't have Disney Plus. I mean, got rid of that a long time ago, before this writer's strike. So what I do have left is Crunchyroll. And I want you guys to help me with some good recommendations for some good new animes. Now, I've watched, a lot of the stuff on there. So obviously, I'm just like everybody. So I'll tell you some of the things that I've watched recently so you don't, spam for me to watch. Obviously, Demon Slayer. I'm up to date with Jujutsu Kaisen, which I absolutely love. I'm a little confused how they went to totally new characters for the second season, but whatever. I'm really enjoying it. What else did I watch recently? I actually started, of all things, I kind of said I would never watch this because it was very kiddie, but I started watching My Hero Academia, and I really like it. Whatever. I actually really like it. It's got a lot of heart. It's not bloody. It's not Chainsaw Man. I mean, what the hell is? But let me know. Give me something good that I can watch. Preferably something with more than one season, because there's nothing so frustrating as really getting into something and then after 12 episodes when you're like, all right, let's go. And then you're like, well, you can wait till next year and maybe we're going to have new episodes. So hit me with some good recommendations. I know you guys got something good for me. Okay, so let's get into this absolute silliness. So what you have here is a TikToker who legit is trying to show people their process, and they're obviously just either erasing a white layer or it's more likely erasing a white layer. My brain first goes to it's a layer mask. But I can't imagine this person knows what a fucking layer mask is. And it took me a while to even figure out if this is real because it comes off as satire. And I had to scroll and scroll, and apparently this is actually real because RJ Palmer, legend, was asking, like, is this satire? Like, this can't be real. And somebody else did that too. And apparently their response was, someone is good at art. You is this satire. So yeah, they take it seriously. They think it was real. But we see tons of just ridiculous shit like this. AI artists doing this stuff. The imposter syndrome is catchy like COVID. It's out of control. If you're gonna fake this, at least try to do a better job. And if I scroll down here a little bit, there actually is them trying to do a little bit better job. They did. Oh, it's amazing, right? So here's the tutorial for how you do it, right? We traced some lines, and then it goes to that. It goes to that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. I fucking can't. Okay, let's keep. I swear, I'm fucking crying. And then of course it goes right. Right. I mean, obviously, So this is like a fucking thing. It's beautiful, it's hilarious, it's horrifying, it's ridiculous. But I thought I'd start out with this before we get into something a little darker, but actually also kind of pretty funny. I haven't talked about Meta much lately. I mean, what the hell is there to talk about? Other than, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk wanting to have a cage match, which lit the internet up. Besides, that, like, what's there really to talk about? And we're going to do another video where we talk a lot about, explore about, Elon's talking about starting his own XAI, which just real quickly, he said it's going to be trained on Twitter, like the entirety of Twitter. So if you have tweets up on the Twitter, X, whatever, X videos, Twitter X's, X tweets, whatever you got up there, they're going to be trained into his AI, which if you just look at it on its face, if you think, okay, just imagine it's only the Twitter, right? That he doesn't have some sort of other base or some sort of dizzyingly massive data set that he's either going to license or purchase, or he's got people currently scraping right now. It's just imagine it's just Twitter. And the AI only knows Twitter. Can you imagine the absolute disaster, the epic dumpster fire that will be? It will be the dumbest, most racist, insulting, nonsensical AI. And to be honest, I'm here for it. I do want to have an AI just completely curse me out every time I ask it for something. Like just good times. We could just call it racist X AI. It's going to be good times. I mean, look, if we know anything, Elon, now with his takeover and just ironclad and visionary management over at Twitter X stream with their new slogan, which I can't even remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it's like, you can't Mountain Dew all the things you Mountain don't. I don't know. It's something just nonsensical. He's got a proven track record in tech, and I'm sure it's going to go just great. Anyway, so here's another fun little nugget. Apparently, Meta is to launch AI-powered personas like Abraham Lincoln. So you're going to have a chatbot, imagine in Facebook or whatever, on Instagram. Won't that be just delightful? That are going to have personalities. So we're going to have like Abraham Lincoln. I don't really know what that looks like. Is he going to free the art slaves? I'm not really sure what it's going to do. I think this is going to be just absolute comedy fodder. So that's pretty hilarious, and we'll see what really that comes. I mean, but what the fuck is going on? So again, we're kind of keeping it on the lighter side a little bit today. Now here's one that's just a little bit just disgusting. Just a little bit of ick. We do talk a lot recently, unfortunately, about like Disney, the SAG strike, the Hollywood movie executives, the levels of greed, the income disparity, the lack of empathy or basic anything identifiable as the minimal amount to pass for a human or someone who belongs to humanity. But apparently just the TLDR, which is the too long didn't read, which I learned recently, they are essentially looking, Disney and NBC, and I'm sure other people too, money. They are looking at New York. Apparently what happens in New York, if you make films or TV productions there, you get like this big tax break. And if they replace all the workers with AI, well, then you don't get your tax break, right? Because you're not hiring anybody. The purpose of a tax break, well, let's say I'm the mayor of Poo Poo Town. If I want Hollywood to come to Poo Poo Town, by the way, I'm definitely the mayor of Poo Poo Town. If I want Hollywood to come to Poo Poo Town, I'm going to give them a good tax incentive because I want filming. I want that money spent here in Poo Poo Town. But if they replace everyone with AI, why the fuck would I give them a tax break? So apparently there is a bill going through the New York State Senate that would essentially, well, it would eliminate their tax break because of reasons, obvious reasons. And they have hired lobbyists to keep an eye on this and maybe grease the wheels so that they can keep their tax break, which is Psychotic. It's just another little nugget in the absolute hellish dystopia that is today plus generative AI. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course. Here is a fun one. Here is an absolute fun one. Now, a few months back, you might have heard or maybe saw on Twitter, there was essentially a Chinese gaming company that, so online gaming firm, they replaced their CEO with an AI, which, given what has been going on lately, I just love that, to just flip this whole paradigm around on them. And I really feel like this is one that we can talk about for like a fucking hour. But I'm going to give you just kind of the bullet points. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because the next tab I have is actually hilarious and horrifying at the same time. And then I really do want to draw something with you guys, if that's okay, if you'll have me, if you'll honor me with that. I'm really looking forward to that. I've been wanting to do a lot more of that. So you say, hey, CEO, do you think you could be replaced with AI? I mean, of course, they're going to be like, don't be absurd. I bring far too much value, but you don't. I think David Zaslav has said he was compensated like $260 million. And CEOs actually have a tendency, because of their short-term profit goals to increase money for shareholders, tend to bring companies towards long-term, very bad financial outcomes. But they are rewarded for these short-term, stock buybacks and just anything to get the share price up just a little bit. They are graciously and handsomely rewarded, regardless of however many missteps they make. For example, Disney, I think somewhere down here, I really don't feel like scrolling to it. David Zaslav basically cost Disney's stock price over the course of however, like a certain amount of time, to go down 30% because they made a lot of fucking really shitty movies and a lot of bad decisions. But his salary kept going up. So there's like an obvious cognitive dissonance going on here. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting that they talked about was how they say actually CEOs, this is a fun little graph. 1965, CEOs made 20 to 1 for your normal worker. Now it's 399 to 1, and that's actually conservative. In some cases, they make a shitload more. Seems valid. I think it's balanced. It's fun. I'm having fun. We're having fun. It's fun. But essentially, these CEOs, they have already started outsourcing a lot of their tasks to either AIs, or they just hire people in third world countries who do like one task for them for basically for nothing, or relatively speaking, of course. And anything that they can do to earn their $250 million without having to work really at all, I mean, they're all for it, and I'm here for it too. You guys deserve it. You are the salt of this earth. You make everything happen, guys. Just a bunch of just treasures. Every single one, each and every one, just a fucking treasure. So yeah, I mean, basically, the long and the short of it, I will link this article. It's super interesting, but the Chinese websoft firm that replaced their CEO with an AI outperformed the Hong Kong stock market over the course of, I guess, about a year, a little less than a year. And it makes sense to me, because if you're driving the bus and you're just completely full of shit and sitting there sniffing your own farts all day, you really don't know what the fuck is going on. I mean, you don't have to look too far to see examples of that pretty much everywhere you go. So yeah, wouldn't it make just a absolute metric butt ton of sense to, instead of replacing, the 400 lowest paid workers, why don't you replace the one highest paid, I want to say worker, but you don't actually fucking work, the one highest paid person who generally runs the company into the ground. And one of the points that they made in here was that the thing that CEOs think is so replaceable about them is that they're like this isn't the word they use, but like we're like a cheerleader, right? We rally everyone up and get everyone galvanized. And, you know, basically, if you look at the description that they give, to me, they're describing a fucking mascot. So fire the CEO, replace him with basically a guy in a freaking Pikachu outfit. But of course, it would have to be the, you know, copyright free corporate version of not Pikachu. Get everyone to rally behind that freaking thing, which would be way, but you could hug it. Maybe it's got candy, whatever. And then the 400 people at the bottom can get a living wage and actually do the work that makes the company run. I don't know, just like spitballing here. Crazy times, logic, whatever, useless, get rid of it. It's just insane. So the next thing I want to talk about is Justine Bateman. If you're not aware, she's been pretty much... if you don't know who Justine Bateman is, she was an actress, or still is an actress, sorry. She was in a show called Family Ties that I remember when I was really young with Michael J. Fox. It was on TV. I'm really old, but I like the show. It's a good show. She's cool. Justine Bateman's cool. She has come out hard against AI and pro actors' rights and the writers. She's basically on the side of labor. She makes a lot of really good points. She made this tweet about, or sorry, she made this X. She made this tweaks. God, I hope this isn't right. I hope this isn't real. Another thing that is too bizarre to not be satire that turns out to be real. They're creating a reality show called Falso Amor. Falso Amor. False love. And they're saying it translates to deep fake love. And it's essentially a deranged reality TV show that psychologically tortures participants by showing them deep fakes of their partners cheating. Yes. Because what in the actual fuck? Now, the fact that this is happening shouldn't surprise anyone, because the last time there was a big ass actors or a writer's strike, however many years ago it was, that's what gave us horrible stuff like the Kardashians. That was made the reality TV boom happen, because you know, they're not crossing any picket lines. So now not only are we getting reality TV again, we are getting it with deepfakes, with AI. And dear Lord. So just read this really quick. And it's a Spanish language program. New Netflix reality show called Falso Amor, which translates to deepfake love, splits 5 real-life couples up into 2 different houses, adds a bunch of hot singles into the mix, and then subjects individuals to the experience of watching their partner cheat on them in videos that may or may not be deepfaked. May or may not. The program asks participants to watch the cheating clips, then guess whether the videos are real or cooked up by AI. At the end of the show, the couple who guesses correctly more than anyone else wins 100,000 euros. That's about $110,000. I mean, somebody made an absolutely fantastic comment here. If you guess right the most, here's 100,000 euros, which you can now go spend on therapy. Yeah, I mean, what in the actual deep fuck is going on? Just don't fucking do this. So that's all the AI tabs we're going to talk about. Tried to keep it on the lighter WTF side, because what I really want to do now is draw. So just pardon me while I rearrange all my cameras. So what we have here is I've got Procreate set up. So we're going to make something like this, right? These are my I call them my cuddle buddies. And these are, well, they're just kind of, I mean, call it what they are. These are H.R. Giger inspired little rip-off little doodlers. And I super duper enjoy making these. And I'm going to teach you how I do it. And it's incredibly easy. Incredibly easy. And the great thing about it is you don't really have to really even have a plan. You just kind of start making stuff, and then you just kind of see what you see, right? It's like just randomly creating values and shapes until you get something that you're like, wow, that's like kind of cool. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new canvas. Now, with these, I generally make them really big. And the reason I do that is because I can do that. I don't need a lot of layers to make these at all. I need no more than 4 layers. And truth told, 2 layers is plenty, but 4 is good just in case. Given that the way that Procreate works, if basically your file size or pixel dimensions is kind of determined by how many layers you have. So if you want to have 50 layers, obviously you can only make it's so many pixels wide. But since we're going to make such a large canvas and only need a couple of layers, well, then we can make it pretty big. So I'm actually going to make this like, I don't know, let's do something weird. I'm going to actually try to work close to the size of the screen just for fun-ish. But let's go 5,000 wide by, let's get weird, 6,500 high. So it's like a vertical rectangle, essentially. And the first thing you got to do is just make the background color basically black, because that brightness is just driving me completely bonkers. I don't know if you can hear that. It's pouring rain outside. That is just so soothing and just delicious. So the first thing we're going to do with our large kind of canvas here, we're going to tap here on the layers palette thing. We're going to get our new layer there. Then we're going to go into Canvas, Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guide, and we're going to do Symmetry, so that anything we draw on one side will be on both sides. I like to turn the opacity all the way down, thickness down. I mean, you don't need to see the line there. That's just absolute nonsense. And you can see how this works. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with this. If you draw something over here, right, it goes over there. And the way that I start these out is I like to just find any kind of big, sort of soft-ish textured brush, right? Sometimes I'll use this charcoal, which works pretty good, and sometimes I've used these industrial guys, and these are pretty nice and textured too. But for today, we're just going to use this charcoal. I'm just going to grab any one. This one seems nice. I'm going to make it pretty big, and really the whole thing is that we don't want a lot of pressure here because we want to build our values up. So I'm just going to, and I don't have a plan here. I just know we want to make kind of a scary little friend. Scary friend. Let's see, actually, I want to make sure that you guys can see the menu up top here. Yeah, so you can see all those little things. Great. So the way that I usually start this is just by really building up some stuff super slowly. Now even this is like way brighter than I like to do. So I'm gonna darken this just a little bit. And I just move the pen around until we get kind of, you'll start to see stuff. And you just go like this, and we erase just as much, if not more, than we add. And we kind of get a thing. And I'm moving back and forth, and I'm keeping it kind of moving in like a circular, like kind of a light circular. I'm not putting pressure. I'm not doing that. It's just, I'm just letting the pen just kind of glide across the thing. And it's a pretty big brush. And now we're going to just take this, make it a little smaller. And we're going to make it a teeny weeny bit brighter. And I'm just going to kind of just keep adding little bits here. Right? And I'm seeing already I've got some sort of wannabe alien head here. But that wasn't my plan. I didn't have a plan. There was no plan in any of this. We're just making shapes. It's kind of like looking at the clouds and looking for stuff in the clouds. You ever do that? I mean, I know we've all done that. I'm not going to ask stupid questions. We're just looking for things in the clouds, right? So erase a little bit here. I just really want to get a lot of kind of texture and area to work from. And what we're going to do essentially is just move from big fat brush strokes into much smaller sort of brush strokes and just look to start to define things. So I'm seeing, you know, the pretty obviously apparent sort of face here. One of the great thing about this little process here is that you can do this in bed, right? I've actually never tried to do this sitting upright like this. I've usually got my feet up, I've got some cartoons going in the background, whatever it is, and it's just so chill that you get into that kind of just super relaxed space. You don't have to think about it. You're just looking at values, you're looking at tones, and you're just kind of lost in the sauce. It's a little different when I'm doing this recording because I'm thinking a little bit more than I would, because I don't want to spend a lot of time spinning my wheels, right? I kind of want to get someplace so I can kind of just show you guys how I do this thing, and you can kind of take it from there. But we're just still working kind of big, and we've got already like a shitty half-assed alien head here. Hey there, shitty half-assed alien head. What's your... Oop. Let's show a little double tap on, dude. What's your name? I mean, everybody's name is always Steve, so we're just gonna call this guy Steve. Right? Boom, boom, boom. Now, don't worry too much about what you got here, because the real part where stuff starts to kind of happen is when you do your erasing. Right, that's when the magic happens. So that's why part of me doesn't really want to leave a lot of empty space here. I really want to have enough stuff that I can erase and leave little bits of negative space. So, you know, we're not married by any stretch to any of this. We're just moving the pen, feeling the textured flow. It's not complicated, and we're still using a big ass brush. We're nowhere near even thinking about any like details. So you can feel free to throw some little nuggets in there, but at this point I'm going to switch to the other brush that I use almost exclusively, and that is the soft brush. Right, this is the homeboy. Soft brush is your homeboy. I'm just gonna add a little bit here. Can you hear the rain? Oh, that's delightful. Oh yeah. Maybe I add my own rain sounds in here. Wouldn't that be relaxing? Like little paint and rain. And generally the way that I like to work though is down when it gets towards the bottom here. It it gets a little darker, but we're gonna add some brightness up at the top. And I'm just not thinking about this too much. So right here. The more I think about it, the worse this will definitely turn out. That's the one thing I've certainly noticed. So we just want to kind of just feel some tones. And these things that I showed you in the beginning, they can take anywhere from, 45 minutes to a few hours. It really just depends how far you want to go and how much detail you want to add. Just so to show you, like, if I give you an example of one, like, this one, for example, if we actually open this up. So it doesn't look like there's that much going on, but I spent a lot of time here because I was having a good time, and it got pretty detailed, right? There's all this nice little stuff happening here. And just have a good time. It really absolutely is 100% a meditation. And I think that's really what I want to drive home to you guys, is to not be so concerned with the outcome. Don't get stuck on, well, I think this looks good, or I think this looks bad, or I'm putting pressure on myself to make something amazing. Give it time. Just give it some time. And just enjoy the process. Just let the lines kind of determine what's going to happen. Start thinking about form, right? So let's say I want this, shitty alien head ripoff buddy here. I want this to have a little bit of form. But one of the easiest ways to do this, and this applies to anything, whether you're doing robots or machines or landscape, is to give it contour, right? So you can see a good place where I completely screwed that up is over here, right? So I'm just going to erase that and just zoom right in there. Super relaxed. No stress. We're just going in here. I might want to maybe erase a little bit of this out, right? So that's when the really good stuff starts to happen. The eraser is when it really gets good. So let's just do a little bit of that because we can always add more in. Now, I generally don't like to add too many small details in at this point, but why the fuck not, right? Just add some little bits. We're going to take, and most of the details are made by erasing, right? That's why we just have this big mass of textured information just so we're making a huge block of clay just so we can chip away at it, right? I'm making a hammer motion with my hand that you can't see. Oh, can you hear the rain? Oh God, that is just absolutely delightful. And we're just going to erase little bits here, right? And again, it's light pressure. We don't have a ton of pressure on our eraser. It's not super big. There's little bits here. We're just erasing little bits and we can always add more in. It's this kind of give and take. And one of the things I like to do that even you see right there, I like to repeat the patterns, right? So even for these little random lines, if we don't wind up completely erasing them, I just kind of just like this, right? And that automatically gives you a little something something. A little something something. Right? Same up here. Like start thinking about maybe, you know, that comes out. Maybe there's some negative space here. I do like to really do these kind of repeating circular things. They kind of give you something nice. We're going to go back in here and just add a little more. The big brush, right? Because this is a little, I don't know, just like a little not enough shit to erase from for my personal sensibilities. I'm just going to kind of come in here, just start thinking about some little contours. And maybe there's another eye or another hole right here. Sure, why not? And these lines around the edge, these are a little much, so we're just going to, with a big eraser, just going to kind of lightly take those down. Right? It's very slowly, very lightly take those down a little bit, even whatever. Maybe we'll leave that. Maybe we'll take a little bit of this down too. Just take a little bit down. Again, we're not thinking too hard. I kind of got lucky. We went right into a really crappy rip-off Xeno, which is, it doesn't matter. We can always change this or honestly just add in more stuff. There's no rules here. The most fun part about any of this is just, oh, chill, my guy. Maybe a smaller one. It's just kind of letting it happen. Just let it happen. Don't fight. Just let it happen. That sounds absolutely creepy. Right? Just look for things. We're just looking for little indicators of form. We're going to keep adding these little bits. And anytime that I have like a solid line, I'll just kind of do like this type of thing over it. It just gives it a little bit. Just to zoom in a little bit. Just a little bit. Right, there's almost like a vein or kind of like a bone structure. If you look at bones, they have this sort of, you know, where this texture to them. That's cool. And I don't want to add too much in with the flat brush, right? Because I do like having a little texture there. I guess at this point, start to think about slightly, and I'm gonna move it up just a tiny bit brighter, just a tiny bit brighter, and a little bit in here because why not? A little bit at the top, And again, we're not worried about it. We're not thinking about outcomes. I'm just adding and taking away values, looking for shapes that I feel good about. And I tend to just repeat a lot of patterns, right? So if I'm going to do a line, I'm going to do a line all the way down. I don't think about the contours, right? One of the things I really like to do is like this type of thing, where I just make little segmented little guys here. Alright, so these are maybe joints of some kind. I'm not overthinking it. This is very Xeno. I mean, you know, H.R. Giger, man, I miss that guy. If you watched any of my earlier videos, I think one of the things that really got me so upset about AI art in particular was how obvious it was that they had fed every piece of H.R. Giger's art into the fucking blood-sucking robot. And I was actually, you know, in the beginning, before I really understood how bad it was, I was having it make me things in the style of H.R. Giger. And I was actually able to identify the work that it was pulling from. It was one of the things that kind of really got my gears turning. Oh, something's wrong here. This doesn't seem right. Like, how come it's literally ripping off his art here? Because he has, you know, he's a really good example of that, because he doesn't have the largest body of work, right? There's not thousands and thousands of pieces of H.R. Giger's work that we can look at. It's pretty limited. So when it's going to start overfitting and ripping his shit off, well, you have a pretty good chance of identifying, you know, what it is that it's ripping off. So we're still just kind of looking for shapes. I'm just thinking, not overthinking too much about it. We'll got another little finger here. Maybe this one comes in this way. I like these kind of spindly finger things. They're fun. I'm just going to add little bits. And we're not, again, I'm resisting the temptation to really get too defined in any one area. I don't want to do that. At least not yet. But the great thing is, even if you do that, you can absolutely just get rid of that and just completely change it. I have absolutely done a few of these where I'll spend quite a bit of time on one thing, and then I just wind up literally erasing 90% of it. And just like, oh, this is fun. I get to kind of like start over, right? Little mouth inside the mouth there. Some extra lines here. I'm just building up, and taking away. And again, this is always very light pressure. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm just keeping it. It's almost like the feeling of the pen. I don't like those. The feeling of the pen sliding on the glass is like this ASMR thing that I'm just really enjoying. I don't want to lose that. Here's another fun thing we do sometimes, and I don't know if I need to do this, but we're going to go into the liquefy, and with the push, we'll just skinny this up a little bit. Maybe it's a little wider here. Maybe it's a little skinnier here. You know, this is a really easy, fun way to change things. Now all of a sudden we've got like a tick. Ticks are creepy. It's kind of become like a whole, maybe like a little bit of a different type of thing. All right, working towards the center, pulling out. I feel like even this has a little too much pressure. Just building up, taking away. Maybe add some more in here. A little bigger. And after a certain point, you can start thinking about, well, where is my light source? What parts do I want to build up? What parts do I want to take away? Once you have a better idea of what your forms might be, your overall shape, might actually be, you can really start to get into some detail, but we're just not there yet, and I don't really want to be. And there is part of me that wants to kind of do this quickly for you guys, but really you're doing yourself a disservice, because the journey is always going to be the destination when you're creating art from your head, or the process, or whatever it is. You know, typing in a prompt and having something spit out for you in 15 seconds has got to be the least satisfying thing that I can possibly imagine. And that's one thing that I really wish a lot of the AI art proponents and enthusiasts would understand. I have been toying with the idea of making a video that is just like an open letter to AI artists, art people, and just asking them what the satisfaction is. You know, what is it that you're honestly getting from your process? And it's a good faith argument. I'm not trying to dig, but there's a great expression, and stop me if you've heard this one. It's that bees don't waste time explaining to flies why honey is better than shit, right? And without being incredibly condescending, I feel like that's kind of the exact conversation I would be looking to have. Like, tell me what it is about eating shit you like so much, and then I can make an executive decision if I want to show you what honey is. Now, of course, I want to teach you about honey. If making art is honey, of course I want to do that, because gatekeeping in art is not actually a fucking thing. I think we all know that. That is just some Imad Mostak fucking bullshit, and it's not a real thing. But I would also love to know what it is about prompting. You know, that little dopamine hit that you get when you prompt something. Tell me what it is that keeps you coming back. And if you were able to make that with your own hands, even if it took a long time, and you could actually have a sense of ownership over it, right? Without having to defend yourself on Twitter or fight off all the gosh darn Luddites, would that appeal to you? Is that something that you guys might be interested in? I honestly don't know, but I want to know. I want to know what their thoughts, and I want to hear why they like it so much. Is it just the easy button, or you think that you're going to make money with this? Do you think that there's a clout to be had? What? Tell me about it. Tell me all about it. So we're still just kind of adding up. And for a moment there, when I wasn't talking about what I was doing and I was thinking about something else, I kind of got into that right headspace where I'm not consciously trying to do anything, and I'm just looking at little bits, adding little nuggets, and really getting into that sort of meditative, that's the space I want to be in. So we're just adding a little more. We're getting slowly and ever more slowly, like a little bit brighter. Keeping this brush kind of small. And we're going to add some more tick legs here. Can't have enough tick legs, right? The way I like to do these little guys is just one little segment at a time. They're all shaped like bones, right? And then here you can get the end. They get a little thinner as you go. And it's just keeping the brush moving circular shapes. I'm never going like this. I mean, that was okay. I could do that, but keeping it moving. Little circular shapes. Nice light pressure. And make the brush thicker and thinner as you see fit. Maybe there's one that comes this way, but it's a little, I think I used a little too much pressure. And don't worry about if it's a little too bright. You can always just erase out. We're always going to be erasing out. Most of the good stuff happens while you're erasing. I'll add a little more here. So I'm seeing some shapes here. I'm starting to see some little formation of some striations here, even though I think these should probably go this way, more arced this way to go with the contours. That's okay. That's totally fine. I'm just building up some values here. I sure do enjoy making these. I used to do this a lot. And since AI came around, and you know, we've all been pretty preoccupied, and it's hard to remember sometimes to just do the things that you love. Just to keep on making, keep on creating, even if nobody sees it. Even if it even turns out like utter, complete dog shit. Who cares? As long as you had a fun time and you enjoyed the process, then that is 1,000,000,000% time well spent, my friends. Oh, just add a little highlight over here. Why the hell not, right? And I'm getting into a little more detail than normally I would like to at this point, but I do kind of want to get to a certain point where I can kind of start to show you, how this kind of all comes about. And you see it slowly starts to take form. It's a little flat in this area. Let's switch over to our very close personal friend, the big soft brush. I'm going to just do one of these, right? And look how much that does already. Now, one of the things I always do is I always make another layer. I'm just going to duplicate this one just to make it easier because I want to have the drawing assist on it. And I'm going to go almost not white. It's like pretty light gray. I'm going to make this brush super big. And I'm going to give it one of these. Right, I was just established a light source. So this I like to put on a separate layer so I can turn it on and off. Maybe I can just turn it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. But that gives me something, now we've established a light coming down this way. Let's start taking some more out here, shall we? Using the big soft brush. Oh, that is a lot of pressure. Oh, little bits here. Let's kind of come on out. I'm actually going to turn this down a little bit. It's a little in my face, my friends. Let's start doing some deleting. And I'm just looking at little areas here. Trying to imagine some little contours here. Something about this spot I just did. I don't like that at all. I don't like it. And no, sir, I don't. So I'm going to kind of, whoa, take it easy. I'm just going to hold my finger down here. That's how I have Procreate set, so I can pick colors. It's just going to pick whatever I do here. I'm just going to grab this tone. I'm just going to fill this back in a little bit because I don't love that. Now we get back in our erasers. I kind of like the way that these little guys were going. And since we've kind of established there's a little bit of a shape here, we can just kind of flow with those shapes. Right? I'm going to add a little back in here. I might have lit it a little much. It's just there's a little too much pressure there. Not overthinking it. And if you wind up with an area that you're like, oh, this is just so flat, you can always just add these little lines here that I like to do. That I just kind of bring it up around here like this. Kind of imagine that it's going this way. Maybe whatever this shape is, kind of come here. Maybe meet up with that. It's a light pressure. Don't go too bananas. Not two bananas. You can go one banana, not two bananas. I'm not sure about that or this. We're just going to blend that using our good old friend, the smudge tool. And we get, it's kind of like this type of thing, right? I mean, this is very flat. We definitely need something here. What should we add? Well, we're going to add by taking away. Sometimes I like to just take these and turn them upside down and see if something presents itself. And sometimes it does. I'm not loving the way that it flows into the top here. Let's just kind of change that up a bit. Here's something that I do sometime. We'll see if this works. I'm going to go into painting, and I'm going to grab my friend the Nico rule, whatever the fuck, and I'm just going to give it one of these. Let's see what this does. This one I do a lot. And now we have like this type of shape. And you say to yourself, I don't know, is that like interesting? And we're just going to kind of blend this out a little bit. See what that does. Yeah. Why not, right? Why the fuck not? And that's fine. And you might say to yourself, yeah, but Dan, but Goth, we just spent all that time doing all that stuff. Who gives a shit? Who gives a flying philanderer? I don't care. Just having fun, doing the process, just feeling it, right? So not overthinking any of this. Definitely not. And in some ways, maybe this shape here is more interesting. Why not? Oh, this is way too much eraser. Simmer the F down, buddy. And we got a couple of, hard lines here that we can smooth out a little bit. Maybe we're going to blend that out a little bit. Maybe we're going to make some of this stuff a little bigger. And this, like I said, this can take anywhere from 45 minutes to 4 to 5 hours. Really just depends how far you feel like going. I don't know if I can hold your guys' attention for that long, because this isn't really the type of thing that I guess you can like just listen to. You kind of have to watch it. So, I mean, I do understand why I do want to try to get this kind of sorted out, but I don't know. Let's do like something weird here. Let's delete, let's just erase a big chunk out here. And let's add something in here. Maybe there's... We got to go back to our soft brush. Hello, best friends. Are we best friends now? Yep. Just gonna kind of erase little bits here. See if we can create a little fun little shape here. Right, because this whole little area was pretty stagnant. Again, I'm not really too caught up in what the result is going to be. And of course, I would like to be able to get to a really great result really fast for you guys. But that would be a betrayal of the most fun part of this. And that is enjoying the ride. Alright, so what's going on in here? I don't know. Maybe we're going to put a face in here. Oop. That line get a little nuts there. Maybe there's gonna be a face in here. I don't know. Some weird stuff happens. I'm just gonna keep that brush nice and light. Maybe add little bits here. So maybe there's nose. Maybe there's... I don't know, I guess maybe we're at the point where we could zoom in a little bit. We were kind of working way back there. I don't know, maybe there's like a lady's face in there. I don't fucking know. Just kind of letting it happen. Just let it happen. Not overthinking it. I haven't mentioned it in a while. Don't forget, fuck AI, fuck generative art. That's right, high five. Fuck everything about it. Right in the butt radio. Well, I do actually have a hard cutoff for this. I realize that somebody... I have a call at 4 o'clock. It is 3:39. So all that shit I said about just enjoy the process, well, we're going to have to see if we can't get something that is satisfactory now. I think we're going to change this shape. I'm going to add something back here. Right, this would be the point also. If I didn't all of a sudden realize I had 20 fucking minutes left, that I would turn it upside down, and when I just did that, I see something completely different. Now I'm seeing like a female figure that I might want to explore. And let's just kind of go with that a little bit. Let's see where that takes us, right? Maybe it's this. And then we take a little bit of this away. Again, not thinking too much. Add some of these little kind of texture lines. That gives it a very kind of biomechanical sort of thing. That's just lovely. I'm doing that all this with the eraser. So we make a big block of something, and then we just erase it away. Try to create a little form. You probably can't even really see what's happening, and that's fine. I don't know what's going on here. And don't be afraid to make a big ass move. Like, okay, I'm going to just bring this thing right over here and see what it does. Right? I'm just totally just... Oh, that's a little much. I'm just going to take this. I'm actually going to turn this off. Take this guy. And just make these little bits here. Just keep them going. And see if that does something. You know, is that interesting? I don't know. It's all right. Oh, and we always have our trusty eraser. So we're never stuck on any one thing. We can very lightly go in there and just take that away. Add some more bits in. I wasn't sure about this. Maybe this is kind of connected here. Maybe this is kind of connected here. Adding some little thin lines in here kind of gives it a little something kind of interesting, right? It's nice to get away from the large form. It's tough to kind of really make it pop. The details are really what makes it go, but you don't want to jump into the details too early. But then again, why the hell not, right? Because we just deleted half the shit anyway, and I didn't even give a flying fudge nugget about it. Now, these little leftover pieces here are just ridiculous. So let's just get rid of them. I don't hate this thing here. Maybe there's like some sort of little spindle doodles that kind of connect this thing. Don't like that one. Yeah, why not? I'm not loving this. It's okay, we were never married to any of it. Lines. Making the brush kind of small. And that's a little strong, right? Wouldn't you say? Just kind of feeling it out. I might try to do more of these. I might actually try to have a plan going in, but having a plan. I mean, that's great for paying gigs and stuff. But the whole point of this is essentially a meditation in movement. Just going completely blank. And the great thing about this is like we're not stuck to any sort of anatomical form, right? There's no, well, that's not what or whatever that looks like. Like, that's not quite right. No, there is no right, because this is not a fucking real thing. This is just moving your brush and looking for something to just take form. And I just absolutely love that. It doesn't even have to be a something. It can just be a nothing. And that's totally fine too. And just add some little dots in here. This thing doesn't have eyes. I do like to give these things eyes. Just gives you kind of a focal point, but yeah. No eyes. I'm gonna do something weird because I do want to I want a little more space up here. I'm just gonna take this and kind of blend it around. I'm just gonna erase out this little top part here. Thought there was something nice about having this little spherical little thing here. And I'm gonna kind of give it more of a hard lip. We can use that. This might be the smallest our brush has gone so far in all of this. And that is fine. And that's cool. That means you're getting to a place where you're starting to actually realize your forms or maybe what you want to do. Not sure about that piece. We're going to blend that just a little bit. And this kind of, I don't know what's going on in here. What's going on in there, buddy? I don't know. Is there like a button? Yeah, whatever it is. Who gives a shit, right? Just chilling. I accidentally selected another wrong gray. I do like making these little lines connect. It's fun to zoom in too, and then just kind of, when you get to this point about here, start zooming in and just look at one little area. And I'm seeing these little circle guys here. What's up, little circle guys? Oh, maybe this one. A little more fleshed out. I've got a big soft eraser brush here. I'm gonna just do like that. Just to give these a little more form. Right. Make it a little smaller. Why not? I do look forward to the really detailed bit when you start to get in there. That gets really fun. I don't really feel like we've gotten to that stage yet, so I am rushing it a little bit because I do only have 11 minutes left. Actually, it's more like I have about 15 minutes. But I'd like to get this to a place where you go, okay, well, that's interesting. Right? That's a good place to be. So let's grab this. Let's pick a little bit of a lighter tone. I want to see this little area here. I feel like I can define this out a little bit here. All right, maybe there's a hard edge on here. Why not, right? And then by doing, we'll also need to erase some too. Now let's add some of these guys. I'm gonna grab a little bit darker gray. Just kind of add some little connective tissue here, for lack of a better term. And you start to see like this type of stuff. But these little fingered things that we added in here kind of came back to bite us in the butt. I do not love, they are not my favorite, mostest favoritist. But that's all right. You know, we're gonna just kind of, let's just go with it, right? I'm just gonna add more. When in doubt, just fill the party out. Sure. Now this is a little flat down here. Wouldn't you agree? I think this needs a little depth, so I'm going to erase out a little bit of that. Then I'm also going to grab like a smaller brush, and I'm going to do the other thing I said, where I kind of think about contours, right? So I'm going to kind of erase that. Just flow with that. Can you see that? That's what I'm doing here. I'm just here, here, and then flow in, right? So this little bit, that little bit. We're just going with these kind of contours right here. That gives that a little bit of shape, right? And you could do that little trick anywhere. Almost feel like we're getting some lungs or something here. Is this lungs? I'm gonna just take down this whole bit here. Yeah, take down that whole bit, and then we're gonna add in something here. Just gonna flush out a little bit whatever's going on over here, this little area. Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to get to the fun part. I gotta tell you that my posture in this chair is absolutely atrocious. It does kind of ruin some of the fun part, which is definitely kicking it with your feet up. Let's do one of these. Give this a smudgy. I feel like the perspective on that is way wrong. So let's do a bunch of double taps and go back in time. Gonna go back in time and triple tap. 3-finger tap is redo. 2-finger tap undo. 3-finger tap is redo. I'm just adding some little bits into whatever the fuck these things are. Do not like this business up here. Let's Let's get rid of it. And I don't know if we're going to get this done. But I did want to, at very least, get it to the point where I add a tiny bit of color. So I guess we just established an eye. I'm going to grab the lightest tone that I've done so far. Just put that right there. That gives you kind of like a central thing to focus on. I'm also going to, and I can actually kind of see where this might go, but I don't know if I have enough time. So I'm going to add with a kind of a big gray brush a little bit more here. Just kind of tie these together. And I do want to have a little kind of nub in here. We could flush that out a bit more. This kind of gives it. I'm going to liquefy this guy because this is all wrong, right? This should be kind of more like that. All right, so basically what we just did was there to there. I like that a little better, wouldn't you say? Sure, why not, Dan? Nobody cares. And whatever's going on in here is not necessarily working for me. So I think I'm going to do like one of these. I do want the space to appear to move inside of this. I think, nope, that's not right. I think it's going to be easier to turn it upside down and pull down. Oh, look, we turned it upside down and it got weird again. I really love doing that. That is so fun. Just going to add some little dots inside here because of reasons. Gosh darn it. And a little perspective going in there. Yeah, I was just thinking about taking these away. Maybe this little shape lives independent of anything. I think we got to make the background a little darker. Yep, that's better. And we have something very roughly that is starting to become interesting, right? And I like what's happening here, so maybe we'll kind of duplicate this, right? This little shape here. I'm going to extend this out a little bit. And maybe we can bring another one of these. I'm just going to follow these contours. And it comes up here like this. It's just some sort of striation of sorts, if you will. All right, I'm just going to blend this out a little bit, make it a little thicker. Sure, why not, right? There's no rules. This thing doesn't actually exist, which kind of makes it fun. So at this, we can start connecting things, right? Look at little pieces and say, okay, well, that we can connect that. We can connect this. Say, what's going on over here? I'm seeing some kind of shapes in this area here. And maybe I'm just gonna pull some little bits out here. Not overthinking it. I want really light pressure on the eraser too. I've been going a little bit heavy because I really want to build these values or take these values away slowly. And I kind of been gooning it, and I guess I've been kind of in a rush. And that's the enemy of, you know, creating something that you really feel good about. So just really light pressure. See that just kind of start to build up there. And that's going to give you a nice, soft sort of result. And I'm just down in here, and I'm just going to bop in and out and see what I can do. Just adding little bits of information. just feeling it without feeling it. Not feeling any pressure. Just gonna try to enjoy this. I'm gonna go some here. Oh no, wait. This goes this way, right? Yeah. Spent all that time on that thing. This would go this way. What's going on over here? This little thing, I don't know. Kind of like it. Not that worried about it. Just really lightly just going to blend that in. And maybe we just kind of bring this out a little bit. Maybe this guy comes out too. I'm seeing something here that maybe is kind of interesting. Just add a little information in down there. Now, we have this big empty space here, and usually a nice thing to add there is its teeth. It's always going to be teeth. And we do that just by kind of just hinting at them, right? So here's one. Here's two. Gotta go up a little bit. I always have trouble getting it right next to the symmetry line. And this is fine. These are very bright, but we're going to erase them out a little bit. So we're just looking at the shape. Maybe there's a pointy one. We're gonna have to make this brush even smaller. It's really fun when you start to get into the kind of the detail stage here. Because now we're zoomed in, we don't even know what this whole thing looks like. All I can see is this one little area. Right? And just adding little bits in there. Here's another happy little tooth. And, I mean, you obviously know you can't just have one set of jaws. That's for losers. So we're just going to add a few more here. And you get to this really little fun little adding teeth in stage here. Yeah, it's just so relaxing. Right? Little bits and bobs. And of course, it wouldn't be any remotely decent Giger ripoff without, secondary jaws inside, right? Obviously. Let's bring these up a little bit, shall we? And maybe there's a little hint at some back molars there. And you start to get something that's a little creepy and nice. Now, I'm going to stop here because we're kind of out of time. And I'm sure I lost most of you guys a very long time ago. But one thing I do want to do, I'm going to make a new layer. And I want to add just a little bit of color in here. And you can add more, less color. But I'm going to grab kind of like an, I don't know, like kind of an aquamarine type of deal. And I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to just tap on, I'm going to fill layer, and then I'm going to go in the blending modes here, and I am going to scroll all the way down to color. And then I'm going to take the opacity and drop it way the fuck down. And then I'm actually going to put it over this noise here. We're going to turn back on this layer that we had before. And this is the basic idea. I mean, I don't know if this is the greatest thing. I'm not really sure about this area down here, this jet engine. Maybe if we flushed it out a bit more and really made it look kind of like a jet engine, it could be like a cool, really biomechanical jet engine, scary little cuddle buddy. But for right now, and I would normally push this much further. Like this would be like one session where I would go turn on some cartoons and lay in bed and just let the pen keep working. Just let the pen keep working. Repeat more of this stuff. But for right now, I think it gives you kind of a good idea of like how I would normally go about doing this stuff. And I just taking some bits down, adding some bits in, looking for form. I do tend to work with this off though, so I can just color select. bits, right? Like what part do I want to pop? What part do I want to go down in space, so to speak? And I don't like this. No, I am tempted to just keep going. But again, I'm pretty sure I've kind of lost all you guys. Maybe I'll put some music on here so I don't feel like I have to, you know, nothing is more awkward than silence at times, although silence can be beautiful. I don't know if many of you guys know this, but silence is unfortunately something I will never again experience in my life because me, along with millions of other people, I have pretty bad tinnitus. So it does, I will wake up in the middle of the night and just the ringing is fucking maddening. So I will sleep with, I will go to sleep with the iPad playing something. I will wake up in the middle of the night if it either turns off or if it's too loud or if for some reason it's too quiet in the room. The ringing will absolutely wake me up. But that doesn't mean I can't have peace, right? Silence and peace are not mutually exclusive. So I can still have peace. I do listen to a lot of like nature. I have an app that lets me listen to any combination of like kind of a brook and then maybe like a fireplace and some things like that. And I really love that. I said I was going to stop, but I'm like kind of getting into it, so sorry. Just add the little bits here. Something interesting happening here. Oh, that's not the eraser. Come here, eraser. I have the pressure turned so down on this. But that's how you slowly get those nice values, right? And the teeth are a little honking, so we're going to take them down a little bit. Especially these little side guys right here. So I went ahead and I took a little break here. And I went back and watched what I had done so far. And it occurred to me that I may have spun myself in a little bit of some circles. And what happens so many times is that when you go back and watch these things, and one of the great things about Procreate, as we all know, it does have this time-lapse feature built in where you can go back and you can kind of see your process. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but so many times I will go back and watch something and realize that maybe halfway through or towards the beginning, maybe I had something that was really good. And then I kind of strayed and it went to another place that maybe I feel like isn't quite as good, or potentially, you know, I missed out on something that might have been in there that, you know, maybe I really liked. But it's important to remember that that is absolutely fine, because at the risk of becoming a Pokemon whose name is, it's all about the journey, not the destination, I really truly believe that. Now, there always comes to a point when I'm working on these where it starts to come together and you say, okay, well, maybe I'm close to done. It's not something necessarily quantifiable. And I think finding that place without overworking, so to speak, especially with things that aren't so ambiguous, like what I'm working on here. I mean, there's no who's to say what looks right, or what's a viable final outcome. That's purely up to the person. But with something like a landscape or a concept piece, that's a little bit more tangible. And I think getting to be able to recognize when to stop and not going and wasting a lot of time, depending upon what your situation is actually a skill. Now, fortunately for us, fortunately for me, that's not really the case here. It's literally, I'm just having fun. I'm just moving the little pan around and I'm just doodle doddling and seeing what happens. Now, it is also interesting that when I look at the camera preview on the bottom right there, because it is so contrasty, right? It kind of blows out all the midtones, that it kind of makes it almost more interesting. It pulls different parts out, and I kind of like what it does. So again, it's just so important to not get hung up on results and just to enjoy the process. Now, sometimes I make some of these and I go, this is absolute garbage. It's pure garbage, but it's okay because it's pretty chill. And again, for the millionth time, just enjoy the process. And I hope for all you guys out there working on your own art, doing your own stuff, that you really enjoy the process too. I think that's one thing universally, that when I speak to the people in the Discord or other artists, that we just love everything about image creation, right? Making art, making imagery, making, or participating in the legitimate creative process is just very rewarding. And we're going to get to the point here pretty soon where I'm going to start to kind of wrap this one up, because when I went back and I watched this, I did have to go to the bathroom there for a minute. I realized that this is taking way too long. The odds that I've held anybody's attention for this long is probably about 1 in about 10 billion. It's less than winning the Powerball. So if anybody's still here, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope maybe you got something from this. Maybe not. I mean, I probably could have done this, at least demonstrated, or at very least demonstrated the basic principles that I use here in a much more effective manner. And I will try to do that going forward. Doing like real-time narrated tutorials can be tricky. I found in a couple that I've done that it's actually a little bit better to just record the whole thing and then do your voice after, because you can cut parts out. You can even have the option to kind of maybe just speed it up a little bit, maybe do it at like 1.25 or 1.5 or maybe 2 times the speed, because it's not the most interesting thing to watch unless you're working in an incredibly streamlined fashion. So apologies for just the slow meandering nature of this, but it is very true to my actual process. I don't rush it. I just kind of let it happen, as I said. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed some of this. It's going to go on for a little while, but I know in the beginning of this video I asked you guys to recommend me some good anime. Preferably some stuff that might be on Crunchyroll that I still have a subscription to. And I thought it'd be a good time to maybe run down some of the stuff that I have watched, so that you don't recommend things I've already watched. And it's, we've all watched so many freaking animes. I think remembering them all is almost impossible. But I think some of the stuff that I watched recently that I really liked was, of course, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. We all absolutely love that. Shout out Rebecca, she is the girl. I watched Assassination Classroom recently, which I really thought was really cute and nice. The ending made me a little sad. I'm not gonna spoil it in case anybody hasn't watched that. I watched most of, I think it's called like the something Magus' wife, and I think I watched that more in a like while I was going to sleep type of thing, so I'd wake up and 20 episodes would have gone by. I am also currently up to date on One Piece. I mean, that was, I don't know how many hours of my life. I think they're up to episode 600,043 now, but I really like One Piece. I mean, look, there is a reason why One Piece is the most popular, or one of the most popular mangas or animes ever. And it's because you get this character development that happens over the course of hundreds of episodes. And who doesn't love that? I mean, that's just good stuff. I also recently watched, for the first time, I watched Overlord, which I loved. And that's another example of one that, there's a couple seasons of it and they didn't even come near to finishing it. And I don't know if they are going to make another season. So if you want to continue that, you have to read the manga. And I would love for them to continue it. It was great. It was one of the better isekais. I'm a little, I don't really love isekais. If there's anybody out there watching this, especially up past this point, if you don't know what an isekai is, it basically means another world, right? Where they take a character and they transport you into another world. Like, somebody dies and then they found themselves reborn in a video game or a magical kingdom. There's just so many of these, and it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but there are quite a few good ones, but I don't generally gravitate towards them. What else did I watch recently that I thought was actually good? No Netflix stuff. Not worth mentioning because I can't watch it. But obviously I've watched all of the, and I've read the manga going well past all the Baki stuff and all the Kengan stuff. Kengan Omega, Kengan Ashura, whatever. And I like the manga for that. Of course, there's One Punch Man. I mean, everybody's watched One Punch Man. It's freaking brilliant. Murata, amazing. What else? I mean, let me know some good suggestions down below, guys. And getting back to what I'm doing here, I feel like this really is starting to get to a place where it should have been more obvious, right? I think there was a part of me in my head that said, well, I don't want to make another egg thing. Because recently I've been on this little egg, like scary eggs. I don't know how else to quantify them. But I've been making these like scary eggs. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do another scary egg. But this guy just, over the course of an hour and a half, whatever it is, he's just turning into another scary egg. And that's actually fine. And if I go back and I were to look at my folder in Procreate of all my cuddle buddies, it goes through phases. Like, there'll be 5 or 6 of a similar type of thing, and they're all kind of grouped by time period. Like, the first ones that I did, maybe I'll bring that up here and show you guys. The first ones that I did were all kind of, could be considered part of a series. They all look very similar. They have a similar composition or a theme or an aesthetic. And then it'll go in these like chunks and groups. And I think that's fine too. And that's all part of the artist's journey. Right? You don't sit down for the first time and arrive at a style, right? Or arrive at a place where, like, this is what I do. I got it the first try. This is the way that I do it. And this is my look. And I'm going to have that forever. That's not how it works. And that's like really not the point at all. Right? I'm going to say it again. Pokemon, it's a journey, not a destination, as weird as head is, but that's the whole point. You never finish art. You never complete the process of learning and evolving and whatever your particular aesthetic and tools and the ways that you go about either applying paint or, in digital sense, just moving your pixels around. You never finish that, which is the beauty, right? You don't want to do something that is just so easy to complete, so to speak. It's not a video game. There's no final boss battle, but it's a never-ending set of plateaus that you reach that are mentally tangible, so to speak, right? You get to a place and you go, oh, I think I leveled up. I kind of gained a skill point here. This is better than some of the other things that I've made. And just quick, you see here, I threw a little level on that. I just wanted to brighten the whole thing up, and then I'm gonna kind of erase from the bottom so that it's like a little brighter towards the top and a little darker towards the bottom, which makes the whole thing a little less flat. This is something that I always do. Maybe it starts to be towards the end of the process, just to give it a little, just to make it a little less flat. And that's always kind of nice. And I also do apologize. I have a tendency to make it really small. Like, look at this tiny little thing, and there we go. So I know that that's not the best way to look at it, right? For you guys, it's nice to see the detail, but you know, unfortunately with these particular pieces that I make, the changes happen so incrementally. There's so few big brush moves, right? Where it's like, oh, I see something just happened. It's just a slow process. And I can't stress enough how that in and of itself is part of the fun, part of that kind of meditation vibe that I keep mentioning. So this is going to kind of wind down to the end here. I'm basically almost done. I'm just getting rid of, I spent all that time on that little quasi turbine at the bottom just to be like, I freaking hate that. It's just so stupid. I'm gonna just erase, bye. And it's important, just don't get attached to any of that stuff. Let it determine itself. I think that's a real danger that happens. And it happens to me too with my other work too, where I just, you know, I spend so much time on an element and then realize it's not working. Don't be afraid to just either turn that layer off or simply just erase it. It's totally fine. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you would like me to make more content like this, although perhaps maybe I could streamline it a little bit more. So again, apologies, and thank you for anyone who made it to the end. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see more things like this. I know this is like a shitty Zapata, sorry Steve, where, you know, I'll talk about AI for a few minutes and then we'll do some drawing. But the fact is, I really wanted this to be an art-based channel when I first started it. So much love, guys. Don't forget to be creative. Don't forget to enjoy and suck whatever joy out of this life that you can. I wish you all very good luck in the wars to come, and I will speak to you very soon.